Hey guys, John V here once again from Phone Arena. You're watching our in-depth video review of the T-Mobile myTouch 4G slide, the successor to last year's model, the myTouch 3G slide. It's going to be available shortly with T-Mobile for a 2-year contract price of $200. As its name implies, it still features that nice-looking keyboard right in front, but more importantly, it's actually touted for its camera-taking abilities with its 8-megapixel camera in the back. So it's going to be interesting to see if this handset does live up to be one of the better HTC devices for shooting photos. On the surface, the handset retains most of the design characteristics that we find with the myTouch 4G, and you can tell it instantly with the placement of the buttons below the touchscreen, and also that familiar-looking earpiece grill as well. Besides that, it's a far better feeling and looking handset versus its predecessor. It feels just more solidly built all around. We like the gunmetal-like plastics in use with it. The rear has the soft touch coating as we're used to by now. It does a good job repelling dirt and debris. A little bit on the heavy side, but still quite solidly built all around, and overall, it's a pretty decent looking handset. This time around we find a larger size 3.8-inch WVGA Super LCD panel in play with the handset, so it produces some nice looking details, very sharp, so even fine text, very easy to make out with your eyes. On top of that, seeing that it is a Super LCD panel, produces some nice looking colors, pretty deep with its tones, not as saturated as Super AMOLED Plus of course, but more than respectable on its own. The viewing angles are also good, so you're not going to have too much of an issue, though in outdoor conditions you'll probably still need to shield it away from the sun just because of its overall brightness output. It's not as high as we'd like. Fortunately, there aren't any accidental presses with the handset's physical buttons below the touchscreen just because they're raised and they have a good feel to them. On top of that, we like the convenience of the optical trackpad just because it's becoming increasingly rare amongst handsets. Meanwhile, video chat's on board with the handset just because it packs a front-facing VGA camera, and on top of that, you can notice the intricate-looking earpiece. On the left side of the handset, we have the micro USB port for data and charging connectivity, and you have also a thin-looking volume rocker. It's kind of flat, but it still exhibits a good response when pressed. Obviously, this wouldn't be a photocentric handset if we didn't find a dedicated shutter key. Luckily, it has a 2-level feel to it, so it pretty much exhibits the same response you find with a normal camera. Up top, we find a 3.5mm headset jack, dedicated power button, which is kind of flat to the touch, but luckily it exhibits a pretty responsive feel. And in the bottom edge, you have the microphone there, and you have also a spot here for a lanyard, and you have also a notch here to remove the back cover. Prominently featured in the back is the handset's 8-megapixel autofocus camera, dual LED flash. You can tell it's kind of sticking out just a little bit. It has the ability to shoot 1080p high-definition videos, and combining its backside illuminated sensor and its f2.2 lens, which provides a wider aperture, should provide some nice-looking photos in low-lighting conditions. You have also the directional microphone right there, the speaker notch just right there, and removing the back cover, just yank it off like so. Gives you access to the battery, some card slot, and micro SD card slot, which is preloaded with an 8GB card. Utilizing a manual mechanism, you gotta lift up its display to reveal its photo QWERTY keyboard. It locks into position. You can tell with buttons, they're kind of flat to the surface, and on top of that, they're rectangular in shape, good size overall, but unfortunately though, they exhibit a very stiff response when you're pressing down, so it does limit our overall speed typing rate. It's still usable by most means, but it's not going to be the fastest out there. Just like the HTC Sensation 4G before it, the T-Mobile myTouch 4G slide utilizes the same dual-core 1.2 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. For most basic operations, like navigating between the home screens with a live wallpaper activated, it's pretty responsive here. Same thing applies to things like kinetic scrolling and also opening up applications. It doesn't take too much of a long time. It's not the most fluid or tightest feel that we've seen with the platform experience, but nevertheless, it's more than sufficient enough for our taste. In terms of platform experience, it's HTC Sense 3.0 running on top of Android 2.3 Gingerbread. This time though, instead of seeing a very sensitive home screen, because before with other devices you move between the home screen panels, so you'll get into that 3D view, but you got to really work up to it to get to that movement. But you still present with all the usefulness of HTC Sense 3.0, like the nifty looking unlock screens, the wealth of different widgets, such as the weather one here, which employs a really nice looking effect to it. You have some other useful ones like front stream to get your social networking aspect right there. You can do a pinch gesture to get to leap view, so you can instantly jump between the home screen panels. The main menu is laid out in a traditional grid-like form, but it does snap to certain positions here. Aside from that, everything else is pretty much intact, and definitely one of the better customized Android experiences out there. Of course, we recommend using the physical keyboard for inputting text, but if not, you have the optional on-screen keyboards, both Swipe and the Sense keyboard, which are more than useful just because they exhibit a good responsive feel, very quick. It is kind of cramped with the on-screen portrait keyboard, but using landscape is going to be a little bit better. Either way, whether you use the physical one or on-screen ones, it's a pretty good experience. More of the same, the Gmail experience is pretty tight and more than sufficient enough. It provides all the features you commonly expect, such as the ability to have threaded conversations and label stuff, so it's more than functional at its core. Setup is pretty simple, general username and password, and automatically will set up. With its HSPA Plus connectivity, with the web browsing experience, it's pretty great just because pages like ours load up very quickly, not that much weight, and on top of that, it exhibits a good performance. Kinetic scrolling is fairly smooth. You have flash support. Pinch gestures are more than responsive, and it's pretty much what you commonly expect out of a high-end device like this. Finding the usual Sense music player, it's more than functional at its core in playing some tunes, but it's not the best looking presentation we've seen. It displays all the usual stuff, the album cover, track information, on-screen controls. As far as the audio quality of the speaker, it does offer SRS enhancement, which produces some bass tones to it, and at a louder setting, it seems pretty strong and doesn't sound strained at all. Thanks to the handset's dual-core processor, it handles high-definition videos with no problems at all. The video we have here is encoded in MPEG-4, 1920 by 1080 resolution, so the full 1080p. Plenty of details, good frame rate, not slowing down whatsoever, and thanks to its Super LCD panel, it makes for a fantastic experience. Besides the usual set of Google applications on board with most Android smartphones, we're just going to quickly run down a list here that's available with the T-Mobile myTouch 4G slide. You have things like the Bejeweled 2 Double Twist Sync. You have Media Room, which offers DLNA functionality for you. You have the Netflix app to watch videos, streaming, Telenav GPS, or turn-by-turn directions, and quick video chat, T-Mobile TV service, and also things like the Zenio Reader. So now we'll quickly show you the camera interface on board with the T-Mobile myTouch 4G slide, and we have to say, if you're big on photography, you'll definitely love the options available to you. Definitely a photographer's dream. So you have the interface here. You have a digital zoom available on board with you. You could touch focus anywhere on the screen to focus in a specific area. You have the on-screen shutter key on the right-hand side, as well as the gallery app. I'll have some icons to get some of the functions. Some of the shooting modes available with the handset. We'll quickly run them down. You have automatic, sweep shot, which is a panoramic view, clear shot HDR, which takes a little bit of time to process, burst shot, nighttime shot, action, macro, portrait, and even manual mode here. On top of that, when you switch back to the video recording there, as we mentioned previously, it offers full 1080p video recording, so high definition quality. On top of that, you have different resolution as well, 720p and things lower. You have also additional effects on board, white balance you could set, and even image adjustments, a lot of manual settings, so plenty of stuff to like right out of the box. In all honesty, we can't remember the last time we've seen an HTC device that has great camera quality, but with the T-Mobile myTouch 4G slide and its 8-megapixel shooter in the rear, it manages to take the cake in that aspect. Just because it's touted as offering zero shutter lag, and it rightfully so, it lives up to those words, just because as soon as you press the shutter key, it takes the shot, so you get into another one right away. And on top of that, the images don't come out fuzzy or hazy looking, just pretty sharp and clear. In fact, in outdoor conditions and good lighting, it's probably the best quality we've seen on HTC device thus far. It captures an abundance of fine details. Even when you look at things in the background, you could kind of make it out. It doesn't seem overly sharp with its tones too. Colors are on the neutral side. It doesn't look as washed out compared to previous devices, though at times it can look a little bit on the overexposed side, but nevertheless, we like the overall quality. And when you do close-ups, you get that nice looking blurring effect with the background, so it does look a little bit on the professional side. It works also awesome in low lighting shots. We're surprised with its quality as well. The LED flash manages to illuminate the scenery even more than 7 feet away, and overall we're absolutely amazed by its picture quality. We're glad to see that the handset offers the ability to shoot full 1080p video. Still one of the few devices on the market to offer that. You have different options as well, 720p and even WVGA resolution. As long as there's good lighting, it shoots at a consistent 30 frames per second, but in lower lighting conditions, it kind of drops down to even as low as 23 frames per second in our experience. It has a good movement to it. It doesn't seem too jerky. We like the overall capture rate. It looks nice. Plenty of details, though occasionally you'll see some artifacting going on, but it doesn't really take away from the great quality. On top of that, touch focus doesn't offer continuous focus, so you got to tap the screen. But we definitely like the blurring effect in place when you shoot something really up close to it. The background just has that blurring effect, and we're happy with the detail and quality overall. But unfortunately, it's marred by the audio recording. It's quite staticky and also kind of shrill, to tell you the truth. It doesn't sound too natural. We're kind of disappointed with that, just because everything else with the video looks awesome. Besides its speakerphone, the overall calling quality with the handset's pretty good, just because on our side of the line, through the earpiece, it produces some good tones to it, though kind of reserved, not as strong as we'd like, but still more than audible. On the other end of the line, our callers did say our voice does sound distinctive and clear, no background noise whatsoever, but when we switch to using a speakerphone, it produces some muffled sounding tones. Even though we experienced just one drop call during our testing, signal strength remains to be pretty good with the handset, which is evident by the amount of bars it's displaying right now in high coverage areas. Battery life is pretty average with the T-Mobile myTouch 4G Slide. Just like most other smartphones nowadays, you'll get close to a day's usage, but it's something you want to constantly charge every night before you go to bed. If you're a heavy user, just expect to constantly charge it whenever you can. In terms of calling time, we managed to get approximately a little bit over 6 hours on a single charge before recharging it. It's a little bit on the low side, but some people will probably appreciate it's close to one day's normal use. If you're planning to pick up a T-Mobile smartphone in the near future, you probably want to place your attention on the upcoming T-Mobile myTouch 4G Slide, just because it's going to be one of the better devices coming out to market. In fact, it pretty much retains most of the aspects of the HTC Sensation 4G with its Sense 3.0 experience and also dual-core processor, but you gain the added convenience of a physical keyboard. Although it's not the best that we've seen from an HTC device, it's still more than manageable, even with its stiff feel with its buttons. But the biggest thing about the handset is by far its 8-megapixel camera in the back. It's easily the best HTC smartphone with a camera to date. Great quality with it, a lot of abundant features and options for any photographer out there. And we're happy with its overall quality too, even the 1080p videos. On top of that, you have things like HSPA plus connectivity, front-facing camera for video chat, you have a nice looking display, dual-core processors. There's plenty to love about this one, even for $200, so something you might want to take a look at. So if you'd like to learn more about the T-Mobile myTouch 4G Slide, you can check out our website, phonearena.com. And as always, everyone, thanks a lot.